What's good, people? Camera's over there. I'm all confused. I got Rob McLean in studio today. Guys, this is Sports Debate Tuesday. I'm so glad to be back. I hope you're all fat and happy like me because the episode starts right now. Yo, what's up?
What's happening, my brother?
Got to give the people what we want.
That's right.
Got to give the people what they want. Oh, I love that background. How's your Thanksgiving?
It was plentiful with food and
Yeah.
lots of things, so I'm happy.
Yeah, I was telling you before we got on the podcast, I did like a 4K run, one of those little turkey trots, and me, if I'm a fall out of a run, if I want to quit, it's probably going to be like the first half mile. If I get my breath control on my second win, I could go
Right.
all day at a
Right.
certain speed. So, we're kind of towards the end, and then someone says half mile left. So I believe him, right? So a half mile, I'm like, all right, let me just gun it and, get a better time. And then I went a half mile and there was still like a whole half mile left. So I was mad breathing, like my breathing was uneasy because I thought it was just for the finish.
Right.
Man, I was
That's
so
rough.
so mad at that dude, man. I'm like, do I have enough energy to run back and fuck that dude up? So the live version missed that version of the story, and good because I used the F word. So covering a lot of things. LeBron used the F word. Okay, that's gonna be on our to shame or not to shame. We got, of course, our weekly pick six. A small house event for the UFC. I'm really only interested in the top heavy part. That's Jose Aldo, and then the next week is going to be just ridiculously
I
sick.
can't
That's going to
wait.
be probably a better episode for MMA. Of course, we got our quick question, which is getting longer and longer every week because now basketball is becoming more interesting towards the holidays, and
True.
football, of course, is rounding about whatever. You were right about our New England Patriots. I was right about my Buffalo Bills. They're tied for first. 8 Patriots have a tiebreaker. But Rob, first things first. How about them Cowboys? Cowboys for 3 years in a row have once again dished out a Thanksgiving stinker, including a couple of years ago when they got absolutely pantsed by the Buffalo Bills on national TV. Um, and I remember Skip Bayless saying that like Thanksgiving is probably like the second most aired watch football game.
Hmm.
Made the Super Bowl, right? The Thanksgiving games, because everyone's home. There's only one game. One game, there's not like multiple games. There's one game on to watch. And we were big on this team, right? They had a good defense. Diggs is doing their thing. Zeke, whatever Zeke couldn't do, it seemed like Pollard could.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I've always been high on Dak. I know I've been a minority on that, but he's always been one of my favorite quarterbacks. And again, before Josh Allen, I wished he could have been with the Bills. But here we go. They lost two in a row. They lost three out of four, and this Raiders was an absolute. It was a game where you felt like the Raiders were trying to give it to them. They had poor clock management at the end, which actually led to the overtime. And then they go for this. Dallas goes for this ridiculous, cute, dipsy 2-point conversion that made no freaking sense to me. So the general question, because I did all the talking here.
Hmm.
Um, are the Dallas Cowboys in trouble?
So,
Now, before as you answer this, I'm
mhm.
gonna put up the remaining games. All
All
right,
right.
let's just do that so we could look at that together.
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys for me, the only reason that they're not in trouble is because of the rest of their division. You have what's it called? You got Washington who just lost Chase Young. You have the Giants who've been banged up all year, and you have the Philadelphia Eagles who haven't really been, living up to expectations. Let's say. So, I think it's just the rest of their division that's not going to step up and take advantage of what the Cowboys always consistently give, which is a chance to lose the division. So, yes, I believe they're giving to chances to lose, but no, the rest of the division will lose out, and the Cowboys will get to the playoffs. But I have to say, the reason is not because the Cowboys aren't a great team. They have a lot of talent. They had a fantastic draft year. I mean, they got Micah Parsons. They got Trayvon Diggs. I mean, you got 2 all-star defensive players. You got CeeDee Lamb, an all-star, offensive player. You got a great offense. You got a great running back, 2 great running backs, and still we're questioning if they're able to, make it to the playoffs. Cooper Rush had an amazing game one game this year already. How are we talking about the Cowboys not being one of the best teams in the league? That's where I'm at. So again, I just think there's something in that organization. It might not even be Jerry Jones. Maybe he's making good draft picks and there's somebody in there that's sabotaging, but there's something wrong with the Cowboys, and these are the reasons why they will not win championships until it gets solved.
Rob, hold on. Whoa. I didn't do this yet. I didn't do this yet. And there goes the echo sound. Rob, keep it McLean. I always joke around, right? Sorry, I'm just trying to fix my mic, get rid of that sound. I always joke around that there's a black cat running around that franchise. You got Stephen A. Smith talking about that and this and that. And to me, it's a joke. But when you have a team like this that has a top 5 quarterback, some say top 10, fine. You got a pretty good offensive line. You got Hall of Famers, at that left tackle and left guard. You got Zeke, who hasn't really produced, but Ken Pollard, who's been the best backup in the history of Dallas Cowboys. You go back to Moose Johnston to find that, right? Mm-hmm. This amazing core wide receivers, albeit both of them are COVID, I think, right? It was Amari Cooper and
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
I mean, those two can just set the world on fire. You got a pretty good defense, a good secondary, Super Bowl winning coach. What could possibly go wrong except the star in their helmet? And now I'm starting to believe there's some kind of curse imbued in the middle of that stadium, and they got to dig it up, they got to dig it out, because me and you, we both picked them to win this Thursday.
Right.
Last Thursday against the Raiders. They got the Saints coming up, and but as to the question of are they in trouble? No, I expected them to win the division, and I expected them to be one and done. That's not, in trouble comes from their nauseating, annoying fan base that when they win a game against like the Jaguars, this team could go all the way. Yeah, right. We've heard that, we've seen that, and it's kind of silly for us to keep going through that every year, right, when they win a game. And so my answer is no, they're not in trouble. They're gonna go exactly where I want. Now, my definition of trouble is not winning the division. And again, if you look at this schedule, you got the Saints up next, right? That's a winnable game without a real quarterback. I mean, Trevor Siemian, I don't trust him to set the world on fire. Though I think Kamara as well, and might play that game. So that's a pending on news on that. They should beat the Giants, right? They should beat Washington twice. The only real loss I see on there is the Cardinals. So right now it's 7-4. If they win 2 of those, what do you think? Do you think 9-7 and 9-7, 9 and?
I mean,
the
Washington Redskins are the closest team. That's going to be the biggest games.
No.
Are going to be the Washington games, because one, that's going to hold the record, the tiebreaker between the divisions, and they haven't played either of those games yet. Washington, although they have lost Chase Young, they've been playing great football. And the Giants. Dallas just lost this entire game. They lost their entire coaching staff due to COVID, and their defensive coordinator, I believe, is going to be their head coach. I think this is going to be a really tough game for them. I think it's going to be a really tough game for them against a Saints team who they want to win. They're right there. They just don't have that consistency at quarterback. So you find something at quarterback. You get Trevor Siemian to do something good at quarterback. You get a little bit of a running game. That defense is real. So it could stifle the offense of the Cowboys. Especially with no real coaching staff to lead them along. You've seen it. Dak has gone 42 points to 42-6 type of game, or they get stifled and it's like 15-4. It's not.
He's 29-0 when they rush for 100, when they have a 100-yard rusher.
Sure, I'm sure.
It's 29-0. I mean, I mean, neither one of us are professional football coaches, but this is certainly a level. This is certainly a level where we can say, run the ball.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to be a football aficionado, and I think we're both football purists and we're super fans, but we don't need to be a gladiator in an arena to say run the ball. Just stop. No, I mean, will they miss McCarthy this Thursday? No, because I don't think that man makes a whole bunch of decisions that cost them games or win them games. They lose at the end, whether he's there or not, or they win by a lot, 43-3. Remember, they beat the crap out of the Falcons. The people who make those decisions are his assistant coaches. I know he's got whoever the former coach of the Falcons is, probably he's the
Arthur
DC.
Smith,
Yeah. Arthur Smith?
wasn't it?
Yeah. I'll actually have someone plug that up, but they're probably going to get the special teams coach to do it because this way the OC can work on offense, the DC can work on defense.
That's what I'm saying. I think that there's you should look it up, but
Yeah.
there's
right
literally I think every single coach that they have is on COVID protocol, so they won't be able to get there on Thursday, and the only coach that's available is their defensive coordinator.
Oh my God.
So
Cowboys.
it's pretty nuts what's going on right now in the Dallas Cowboys.
Let's see who he is. Dan Quinn. That's who it was.
Dan Quinn, there you go.
Atlanta
I
Falcons.
think Arthur Smith is now.
Boom. Let's do that. There's our man Dan Quinn right there. Yep. So, wow, that was a pretty easy question. There's something else I wanted to talk about football and hiring coaches, but I think since we don't have an actual segment of before we go, we could talk about that at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we move on to topic 2. That is, NFL pick 6.
Mm-hmm.
NFL pick 6. Last week you were 4-2. Yours truly was 4-2. Greg Faulkner, thank you for playing against the host. Battle the host. Try to beat the host. We're player haters. You were 2-4. Now the guest, our special guest who battle us every week, are now 37-20. I'm 35-24. You're 31-28. And that's what's going on. But let's move on to our weekly pick 6. Let's go to game 1. Speaking of the Cowboys, they play the Saints on Thursday. Who you got?
Man. Yeah, I got the Cowboys. I just think the Saints aren't really going to produce enough points. Trevor Siemian, I just don't like what I see. And, I think the Cowboys are going to start picking it up and being their own team.
I picked the Cowboys, and I don't know if a lot of it comes from being a prisoner of the moment. With how they played the Buffalo Bills on Thanksgiving, but even with Kamara healthy, I don't really see. You pretty much know any decent coach is going to stack 8 in the box if Kamara's healthy and Trevor Siemian to beat you, and you got Diggs playing really really good defense right now.
I mean, the reason why that team was good on offense, the Saints, were because of Michael Thomas. You could say what you want about Drew Brees, but Michael Thomas was far and beyond the best wide receiver in the league, so they're missing him big time.
Yeah, they're yep. We're both going Cowboys. Game 2, Giants at Dolphins. The G-men pulled out a big win against the Eagles, but the Dolphins defense is looking very Flores-like.
Yes, flying around.
Sometimes I like to go with the host, even though the Giants are good. If it's like a pick 'em, but the Giants are really really good on the road, and with Barkley back, I think I'm gonna go G-men on this.
Yeah.
I got guts.
Man, I keep flipping-flopping on this one. It's hard to say. I think that the Giants are gonna do really well. I just don't like how they utilize Barkley. So I never really see him as that much of a linchpin of the offense right now. The defense has been phenomenal, and I think that's why the Giants would win this game if they got their defense. But I just like what the Dolphins are doing right now. I think that, like you said, they're flying around to the ball on defense. Tua and their offense are, slowly matriculating to something decent. And for the last couple of weeks, the Giants have only been able to put up 14, 15, 17 points max. So I just don't think they're going to be able to hold back that offense. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins on this one.
What?
Yeah, I know. I'm going against the Giants 2 weeks in a row.
Oh, man. Well, look, it's not like they haven't disappointed you on some of these picks. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Game 3, you're going to go first on this one. We have the Chargers visiting the Bengals.
Yeah, man. I feel so bad for the Chargers because I think it's just that sophomore slump for Justin Herbert. But, Yeah, the Bengals are just peaking. I love what they're doing. They're flying the ball on defense. They got a couple young draft picks. They have really nice offense. So, yeah, I'm going with the Bengals on this one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Cincinnati on this one. Burrow is happy about the win, but there's this level of hunger where like winning a game here and there is not enough. Before Burrow went there, they've been doing that with Andy Dalton, and there's a reason why they brought this guy in. This man is there to dominate. I mean, all the way from LSU, he's doing so many good things that he did from college that you always have concerns, right? Because the pros, the defense move faster, they're bigger, they're stronger, and they talk so much shit. And here he is, winning record in one of the toughest divisions to be first place in.
True.
With the Ravens, the Browns, and the Steelers. That is.
I mean, he's getting a lot of help. I mean, the Browns have been pretty unreliable this year. I mean, the Ravens, oh my gosh, talk about a roller coaster. And then, the Steelers are just bowing out. So, I mean, it's perfect timing. Perfect timing for them to just take over.
I mean, you look at the other teams, I asked that question. He can't have nobody good? He can't have nobody good.
I mean, he barely got a line, so I don't know how he's staying alive, but he's doing it.
Okay, we got game 4. Let's do game 4. It is the Washington football team. I was going to say Redskins. Washington football team against the Raiders. I like Heineke. I like their confidence. They go and they play teams every week, and at no point do they look at each other and think that they're not going to win. True. That's a dangerous team. And the Raiders are in a very vulnerable place right now. I go with Washington.
Yeah, you're convincing me on that for sure. But I'd have to say, with everything that's going on with the Raiders, I just don't see them, putting it all together. But again, the Washington Redskins or the Washington football team, they're not really putting up those points like they need to, and the Raiders could easily put up points in a hurry. That defense in the front four, is a little thin without Chase Young. I'm probably going to go with the Raiders and hope they, really pound Josh Jacobs into, to get 100 yards, 150.
Okay, you're going Raiders.
Yes, sir.
Okay, shishing. Game 5 in our pick 6, we have the Baltimore Ravens against the Steelers. Bobby McGee, you go first.
Yeah, I got Baltimore here. I think that they're just finding ways to win. That's what a great football team does. And, Lamar is going to start playing better football, and understanding that if I just play decent football, not great football, he's going to change the game. So he's going to keep growing. I think this week he wins. Ravens.
I'm going to Ravens because Lamar had a bad game, but the team had his back, and there are defining moments in the middle of the season that help make you make runs in December going into the playoffs, because I think this is one of the teams that are going to go to the playoffs. And they had that moment with Flacco when Harbaugh was the coach, when they fired the defensive coordinator and Flacco wasn't putting up points. And I don't know, it's like Ray Lewis and those guys are like, hey, we got your back this game, and it makes you just want to do, work harder during the week towards putting your offense together. And feel bad for the Steelers. They're going to be on our quick question, but I don't think they're winning this game. I'm going Ravens. Last one, we have the New England Patriots on Monday night facing the Buffalo Bills. I'll go first on that. Hey, hey, hey. Let's go, Buffalo. Let's go, Buffalo. Let me tell you something, New England Patriots. Your days of the Buffalo Bills being your favorite beat-up toy are over, okay? That's the Tom Brady era, and though Mac Jones is doing really, really good at not beating himself, and when you need him to stretch the field, the man's got a cannon for an arm, surprising everybody, Alabama's favorite son, her second favorite son, maybe to that running back core they had there. But the Patriots are doing good. They're on a roll, but I think the brakes are hit in Buffalo. Where you got? I know who you're going. Because you've been big on them. You saw what a lot of people couldn't.
I like what I see. The thing is, they're both cold weather teams, so I feel like this is not going to be that big of an effect for most. As most teams are affected by that cold, it gives them that little edge. I feel like. So yeah, I mean, I still think it's going to be the Patriots. I think the Buffalo Bills are there. They're right there, but there's just something missing. There's that leadership in the locker room, or expecting somebody to be a leader that really is just a great football player. But I think there needs to be a little bit more leadership in that Buffalo Bills locker room for them to beat a type of playoff team like I'm thinking the Patriots are going to be. I'm not saying that the Buffalo isn't a playoff team, but to me they feel like they do amazing things in the regular season, and then they come to playoffs and it just doesn't feel the same. So,
I don't blame you.
As a fan, I'm sure you can understand what that feels like.
I'm a prisoner of the moment.
I
already told myself I'm picking them every game because I think I was going to be right 13 out of 17 times.
Right.
But
yeah, I'm going with the Patriots. I just feel like that they are so tight situationally that it puts pressure on the coaching staff as well as the players to just be perfect, and execute. And Mac Jones playing out of his mind, and that's the type of player you want to have playing your best is your quarterback. So
that was the last piece.
Yeah.
Right? Nine defensive players back from last year's COVID thing. So they went from like this team that was struggling on defense to this overload of players who were like,
unbelievable.
Bill, we're back. put me in, coach.
Use us anyway.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I understand why. And I have every reason to pick the Patriots too, but somehow, some way I think the Bulls are gonna pull this out.
Didn't you guys lose Tre'Davious White recently?
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. But the way they filled in.
Oh, for sure.
Or even strong. I mean,
but when you start game planning for that, and you lose your number one, that's tough.
Yep.
But we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
I think that's just gonna make the tight end. Henry he's gonna be more active and more. They got Henry in New England right now, and without Tre'Davious White, I expect to see him do a lot of good things in that game. It's home. It's the only difference. They play each other twice in 3 weeks, so it's here and then 2 weeks from now, or 2 Sundays, or this is a Monday night game, but 2 Sundays afterwards they play again. So we get to do this all over again.
Kind of like with the Cowboys and the Washington football team. They play like 2 weeks after each other.
Yeah, wow, you're right. So let's we're moving on to topic 3 because we always talk a little MMA, even though there's not a whole lot to talk about the last few weeks. Covington, Kamaru, that was in the books. We talked about that. Thug Rose, solidifying herself at 115. She is far removed from the Thug Rose we saw at The Ultimate Fighter, in the finale, getting choked out by Carla Esparza. But today, let's talk about another legend. We're going to talk about Jose Aldo. Aldo is fighting Rob Font this week. Font is a tough out, or and in his case, might be an in, right? But first of all, I guess we'll do a pick here, but Aldo has a long career, and he's the one fighter we want to concentrate on. Since there's nothing going on, we get to focus on this one guy.
For sure.
This Brazilian guy whose English is getting better as we speak, who was very, very media shy coming in, right? He was the WEC champ. The UFC purchased him, and then they just made him champ. Right, because the UFC introduced a 145-pound division. They didn't have one, and just very much like Ronda Rousey, they just gave him the belt, and he defended it against Korean Zombie, Frankie Edgar twice, Chad Mendes twice. I mean, just some really, really just some absolute killers, because at that time Frankie was a stud. Frankie was a high pressure fighter, right. And Chad Mendes was. In love with his right hand, knocking people out. And Korean Zombie just kept coming at you too. So these are not Mark Hominick was one of his. That was a banger too. So I guess I got a couple of questions. But first question, Rob, what's one moment that you remember about Jose Aldo that either helped define his career or just help fans appreciate him? Was there a particular match?
Absolutely. Or Uriah Faber. When he
wow.
Yes.
Thief.
Yeah, just because I remember watching that, and man, I feel like this is one of the first times I actually felt his pain. Like you didn't want him to get kicked again in that same spot. But man, you knew that this guy was not going to be walking right after that fight. Once the adrenaline wore off, I mean, dude, his leg looked like there was a baseball on the side of it. It was insane. So yeah, that was one of my most memorable moments. Is just Uriah Faber getting his leg almost just taken off his body. Like I've never seen somebody not adjust that like to something that's happening to them. I mean, you got to think that somebody's kicking your leg and trying to kick it off your body, and the way that Aldo's kicking, unbelievable.
Dude, he was chopping that inside leg. He was doing inside leg kicks, and then when Uriah lifted his leg, the same spot. Look at that. Look at where that foot is. Just, and you're right, man. His leg started to look like there it is. There it is again, right here. Calf kick, because like that calf kick basically shuts down your leg, man. You don't have any feeling, and then. That's even worse because he was feeling the pain. There goes again, the body kick. Because now Uriah's guarding high for the head kick because he knows Aldo can head kick. And that's what it looked like. My goodness. Calf kick on the right leg. Oof. And then that leg kick left leg right there. Just murdering it. You're right. I like that as a defining moment because if you remember Uriah Faber, he was the golden boy of the featherweight division. He was the California kid. He was the one scoring these slick submissions. He beat Dominic Cruz. He beat I believe Cub Swanson, maybe. No, Aldo beat Cub Swanson to get that match. And that's a great defining moment for him. My defining moment for Aldo is when he beat Chad Mendes in Brazil. It was the end of the first round. They were against the cage, and Chad Mendes was pressing, and he dodged the press. And Chad fell forward, and when he turned around, Aldo did some kind of ridiculously spinning head kick or whatever, and it was a KO against Chad, who at the time was undefeated, but not just undefeated, just killing people, dude, just murdering people. Sorry, where am I? This is what happens when I do my own show. So that was my defining moment for him, even though I really love the 2 matches he had with Max Holloway. I'm trying really desperately not to associate Aldo with getting knocked out. We have to mention it one time or whatever, but I don't want that to be the straw man fallacy of this man's career. The man who got knocked out by Conor McGregor in 13 seconds. You know?
I mean, I think the hard thing about that is that he's had, that was one of those knockouts that can change your career, and not like in the, what happened afterwards with the fame and all that stuff, but, more of like, psychologically with the fighter, you know, like with Pacquiao. I feel like when he got knocked out by Marquez. Marquez, yeah.
Yeah.
That
Manny,
was,
are you okay?
Yeah, like that change. I feel like Manny wasn't the same after that. He'll never be the same fighter, and I think that same thing kind of happened with Aldo, where he's trying to get back to a point where he, and that's why this fight's very important. Just like they were saying about Glover Teixeira when he won against Jan Blachowicz, is where, it really doesn't matter about age. It kind of just matters about where your mind is. Are you ready to fight? Are you prepared to put what you need in there and execute your game plan? And you see, like, the older you get, the more you focus on a game plan, the more you can kind of execute that, as opposed to just trying to outwork somebody, or just beat them solely on skills, as opposed to game planning, executing your game plan, and finishing somebody who's in front of you. Yeah. So I think that's what I'm actually really excited to see in this fight is Aldo going to become a veteran fighter who is going to, game plan to take somebody out in front of them, or is he just going to try to leg kick somebody out, or is he going to try to just run his game plan as he normally does? But I feel like he has to change it up as he's older. So I'm really interested to see this fight, but I also think Rob Font's going to come in there and do some damage, so it's going to be fun.
Font's a dangerous dude, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, like, I was just showing people the fights. Like, he lost to Conor, and then he bounced back with Frankie, and then battled Max Holloway twice. I think both of them. One was for an interim title match, and one was for a title. And then just when you thought he's done, Jeremy Stevens, who was like murking people at 155, moves down to 145, and Aldo nails him with a body kick. Good comeback fight for him. And then Renato Moicano, that only the purists know, like the diehards know. Mm-hmm. That is a dangerous fight. That was a dangerous fight to take, and he won that by TKO as well. Couple of split decisions. Marlon Moraes lost by split decision. I think he won a close decision against Marlon Vera, but that was 3-0. and then he beat Pedro Munoz, which sets up the stage. But I like your match. I like your defining moment. I like mine because I believe that was the second match he fought in the UFC. I'm just scrolling right now and I'm looking at it. Yeah, Hominick was the first one. Then Kenny Florian. Remember Kenny Florian moved down to 155, but this one was in Brazil. You know, you got a Brazilian champion, knocking out someone in your hometown is very much like. I mean, we have a whole bunch of volleyball descriptions we're not going to get into because this is about MMA, but yeah, big up to Jose Aldo, and I'm glad we had a chance to talk about him, and we will pick a winner, but we're going to save that for a quick question.
Good.
All right. How you feel about that?
I like that. I was about to just blurt it out.
That's how I feel about that. You're like, I'll tell you who I'll pick. Right. So I apologize for the echo in my microphone or whatever. I just think it's my voice. We could switch mics and I'll echo on that too, and you'll sound normal. So, for some reason in studio it doesn't like my voice, and sometimes it does. All right, but for now, let's go to my favorite topic. We're gonna go to shame or not to shame.
Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame.
So Rob, to shame or not to shame? LeBron James, after his suspension, gets a victory. Post game interview, actually says the F word and an expletive or whatever, and this and that, and the media kind of came down on him. He's supposed to be like this idol for kids and stuff like that. So I guess my question to you is shame on the media or shame on LeBron James?
I think it's just a little bit of I don't think it's a shame on anybody in particular. I think it's just a little bit of LeBron losing his shine. Like I was saying, the media would treat him a certain way, for a certain amount of time because he's a megastar, and as he's losing that face of the NBA type of, protection, I feel like, he's not going to get away with a lot of things. A lot of that's on the court, but some of that is also, the way that the media and people and, reporters treat him and ask questions and, step up to him and say certain things. And, I don't think it's a shame. I think it's more of just somebody, could have a conversation with him and figure that out. I don't think it has to be blasted or people care about if he's cursing or not. Everybody curses. Just bleep it out and move on to the next thing,
Exactly. They do have a 5-second delay, right? For a live whatever. So, okay, there goes our horn. Floor's mine on this one. I'm going to go, if I have to pick one, the truth is always in the middle, but which side of the middle? I'm going to go shame on LeBron. But I will cite this first. There is an athlete exceptionalism. Like there's people like Conor McGregor, who not only curses, but does a whole bunch of stuff. In wrestling, right? Stone Cold Steve Austin, cursed like a truck driver, but who doesn't imagine a dream of kicking their boss's ass one day? So it's one of those things. There's certain people, their language and how they carry themselves are revered. The same reason LeBron's shamed for. With that being said, if you purport yourself or propel yourself into making people believe you're all about the kids, and if you make people think you're a role model for kids, if you're doing Space Jam, whatever, and taking pictures and doing all this kid-friendly stuff, then people are going to expect that from you. So it's like if that's who you are, or that's who you showing the public who you want to be, you got to come with that same energy. And like you said, there is a kind of, okay, he cursed, he did it. Let's get fine. Let's move on. Why this is even a 10-minute segment is beyond me. This is not a 10-minute segment for us. We've only indulged 1 minute apiece, which we could have actually split 30 seconds apiece. But I did want to use that as a segue to introduce the exceptionalism of some athletes or whatever, and in the NBA too.
Well, I also got to say too is like, and this is for all professionals and all ages, because at the end of the day, right now there's a lot more there's a lot less privacy when it comes to superstars, megastars, and professional athletes. So this goes to anybody. When stuff like that happens, LeBron is also a human being. He can also say things and make mistakes, and it doesn't have to be the end of the world, because even if he's trying to be a role model, it doesn't mean that's the only thing he is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he's trying to be a good person, it doesn't mean that's the only thing he is. So you have to give him room to grow. We've been involved in his life since age 16. He's now 38, and we have not given this man any type of privacy. He can't even curse now in front of the media. I think we can give him a little bit of leeway and say, hey, on the back end, not even, chastise him. Hey, maybe you shouldn't say it like that. Or go parent your kids. If you're too weak to listen to somebody say hey, F this or F that on the TV, it's okay. It's going to happen in life once or twice. If you don't want to hear it, put it out your mind and don't listen to those people no more.
There it is. Well, I heard someone once say, for people who curse, they lack the vocabulary to have better descriptions. I say the opposite. I say people who curse are the ones that have the balls to call something the best description they know how. Now, with that being said, there is a little bit of a straw man fallacy going on with LeBron James. I mean, he's not Luke Skywalker from 2 Live Crew, right? It's not his whole vocabulary, for Christ's sakes. So, for me, if I'm going to teach my kids, or LeBron's sending a message to kids, if he's using the F word or whatever in an interview, in conjunction or connection to the circumstances of what he's talking about, maybe instead of examining him using the F words, examine his description of that to describe that situation. And that's what I would teach my kids. First of all, you're a kid. You ain't cursing until you leave my house. All right? But if I were going to teach my kids as far as being young adults, if effed up is a better way, a more appropriate way to describe it than whatever, than messed up, then use that. But if every 5th word is a curse, that's different. So I think there are limits to that. And like you said, because people don't have a private life, particularly celebrities, you can find you can find anyone's worst moment right now. I like it because it's not something like if you see him do something in private, he's still that same person in public. Yeah. So this episode's called "Come with That Same Energy," and that's what I say to LeBron. Just say, hey, my bad. I'll pay the fine. I'm a basketball player. And I'm in many ways an idol to kids, but I'm not a saint. So, that's right. Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite podcasts is Joe Rogan, right? He's people had this thing in their head like, oh, you're wearing one face for this or one face for that. No, it is 2 faces, but it's the same person, right?
Right.
What you say at a bar, or what you and me say to each other at a bar, I'm having one of them frozen girly drinks, is not something I would say to my boss. So that's not being two-faced. That's just knowing when, having this environment and knowing when to behave in that environment. But that's where it's coming from, Rob.
Yeah,
they think you're supposed to be this person in private. No, you are. Your persona's here and your persona's there, and you're not pretending to be different people. They're the same person.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like that, and I know what you're saying. I think it's just like a very truncated version of trying to explain to somebody the difference between a private face and a public face. Because right. I think like you're saying, there's a lot of different, going a little off topic, but there's a lot of different types of faces. People call it putting on a different suit. You know what I mean? You put on your work suit, you put on your at-home suit, you put on, so it's all different analogies to come to the same thing of that, we are, you have to figure out who you are, you have to find out who you are, but there's a lot of different facets to who you are, and not just because you do this doesn't define you. Just because LeBron plays basketball doesn't mean that is defining to him. Right. It's defining to us because that's what we see of him, but it's probably a lot more to him than we know, so, and that goes to everybody, where it's like, because I'm a volleyball player doesn't mean that's the only thing that drives me, So I think it's just everybody is unique and need to be learned.
Yeah, there are many things we are, right? I mean, nobody. I always tell my friends nobody's just one thing, and that's really why I introduced this. It's a stupid subject matter for Shame to Not to Shame that it allowed us to talk about something that was a little bit more important. Okay, yep. So. Let's get to other important things. Ladies and gentlemen, I will bring you... What's up next? I think it's called Quick Question, right? I'm not singing it, though. Guess what, Rob? I actually got something. Here it goes. That's a quick question, Rob. This way you don't have to listen to my god awful wailing. Quick question, Rob. Deebo Samuel, first wide receiver with 3 rushing touchdowns in the Super Bowl era. Do we expect to see more receivers do this, or is he just unique?
No, I think he's unique, and he's unique to the system. But I do not believe we'll see more of that from wide receivers.
Yeah. Quick question, Rob. Does Michigan deserve to be in the top 4 after beating Ohio State?
Yeah, after that pass rush, my goodness, those guys on defense are killing.
Yeah, they came in as the 5. They beat the 2. That's pretty academic to me. Congratulations to Jim Harbaugh, who after 8 years has finally got one against their cross-state rivals. Quick question. Is the NFC stronger than the AFC? I'll go first on this one. I say no. I think they're more popular. I think, America's team is doing well. I think Aaron Rodgers is doing well. And when those people do well, Tom Brady's now in the NFC. And when these star players do well, it offers the illusion that they're the stronger conference. But the last 3 weeks, I just did a head count. The AFC and the AFC versus NFC matchups, the AFC is 14, the NFC is 7.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I mean, the AFC is definitely has the higher echelon of teams, and it's got a great amount of teams that are, coming up from the bottom. So I'd definitely say AFC,
Yeah, Rob, quick question. Will the Steelers have an above 500 record?
No.
Actually, I say no. I think they'll have a 500 record. They have a tie.
There you go.
I was like, with 17 wins, there's not going to be any 500 record, but I'm like, ooh, Pittsburgh, you threw a monkey in my wrench. I would be sad because that'd be Tomlin's first losing season. His worst season since his coaching with the Steelers. His worst season was 8-8. With nobody, with no Ben, no Bell, and no Brown.
Think about it, though. They've been with Big Ben since the entirety of Tomlin's tenure, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. They've never had another quarterback,
And with 2 trips to the Super Bowl, I know it's been a long time, but consider this. Like, people forget they were 12-4 last year.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And something they consider a disappointing season, because of how it ended, right?
Yeah.
Quick question, Rob. Okay, Rob Font, the number 4 ranked featherweight, against the number 5th featherweight, actually bantamweight, 135. Rob Font against Jose Aldo.
I'm going to go with Rob Font here. It's probably the wrong choice, but I'm going to go with my heart on it, and I think Rob's going to take this one. I think it's going to be a 3-round, or it's 3-round or 5-round?
It's 5-round. It's a main event.
Yeah, I feel like it'll be a decision for Font, but yeah.
Well, both guys can go to distance. I think so too. I think he's going to go to distance, and I think Rob Font's going to get the nod. And Jose Aldo, I don't think he's tainting his legacy by continuing to lose. But no matter, I mean, if he's getting murked, like remember BJ Penn at the end, where you're like, God, just please. You're breaking my heart. And when you see Silva get caught, Anderson Silva, you want to say the same thing because you have this image of them.
Well, now that he's not in the MMA, it's a little different. But yeah, when he was MMA, it was like, oh no, this guy's an old man.
Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that, man.
Yeah,
not everybody's gonna be Tom Brady. Quick question: which team will win the NFC? The Bucks or the Packers, or none of the above? The NFC.
I think the Packers. They look real clean, and AJ Dillon is just killing it. And imagine, I can't even imagine what's gonna happen when Aaron Jones comes back. But that duo, and you have that defense who's just looking great. So I think it's gonna be the Packers, honestly.
I think it's the Packers because they're racking up wins right now. Their goal is to be the number 1 seed, and if the NFC has to go through Lambeau Field, I just don't see the Bucks beating them twice, and in Lambeau Field 2 years in a row. If you remember, that was a game last year that could have went either way.
Yep.
They thought what's his name made a mistake by kicking the field goal. I personally didn't, because I'm thinking football and not prisoner of the moment superstar shit. Yeah, I would have said the Cardinals. I would have said none of the above, but they already played each other head to head, and and that wasn't even a good game by the Packers, which they won. Quick question, Rob. Coach Riley leaves Oklahoma to go to USC. Good move or bad move?
I think it's a great move.
Yeah.
USC has been kind of in trouble for a long time. They're a top flight name. They they needed influx of great, of a reason to get people to go there again, and now they definitely have it.
Yeah. I like it because he's an offensive-minded head coach. I don't know if he was a former OC. My guess is he was. And when you are in the South Bay and when you're in the LA area, and even if they're losing, if they're lighting up, if they're lighting up the scoreboard, that's Hollywood. He's gonna have a good time here. He'll be a made man and not even, be in the national picture though. I don't know. The man is the quarterback whisperer, right? Look at the last three quarterbacks: and Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, and Hurts.
Yeah.
And Hurts that last year. Quick question, Rob: will Stafford continue to play poorly?
Yes, I feel like he's just a dude who's, once you get scouting on him, you know he doesn't know how to throttle down his throws, and he just wants to beam it in there. You get a little pressure on him. He's just a strong arm quarterback. So, unfortunately, yes, but he's still a better option than Jared Goff.
Yes, he's an improvement from Goff,
But that don't
because
mean
we
it's
saw
right.
we saw that going the other way too.
Mm-hmm.
And you want it for Stafford. He's in a bad patch right now, and I don't see him playing better or working his way through it until the very end. And hopefully it's not too late.
It
So
just doesn't seem like he knows what he wants.
No.
Like he doesn't know what he wants. Sean McVay wants from him, right?
Mhm.
He just, it's tough.
yeah, let me ask an embarrassingly tough question: does Beckham help or hurt the situation?
I think just all these influx of new players hurts the situation in the sense that there's no stability. But again, there is no stability there because they lost their running back 1, 2, 3. They lost, they've been losing players all year long.
Woods, yeah.
And then they bring in, they lose Kenny Young. They traded him out of there. So there's just a lot of things changing. And they were 7-3. They were doing really well. So it's hard to think that they are where they are now, but they just got to hit the reset.
Yeah.
Go back. I mean, they were crushing.
I do like
season.
Beckham there because of the head coach, though.
Yeah,
The head coach is really Sean McVay is really good with strong personalities.
Yep, and he's going to get him involved, and that's all Odell needs. But I don't think Odell is the same Odell anymore.
No, he's not catching a lot of balls that are not as difficult as the ones he was catching when they're
Right.
he's one-handed fingertip catching.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is just intent. Just like the ball's not getting to me, or I'm gonna go get that ball.
Quick question: did him leaving Cleveland cause a divide in Cleveland?
No, I think it brings them closer because I thought they just were without, like, they didn't even want him in Cleveland like that, so they just tried to keep him out of it and, get back to running the ball and Myles Garrett sacking this quarterback. And I think that's what they've been doing really well. So I think it was best for both parties.
I go from a year ago rooting against Cleveland to kind of rooting for them. It's weird. I mean, do you remember a year ago when we did a pick six and it was the Cowboys and the Browns, and you're like, I don't know if I despise two teams more than these two. I just had me cracking up. But I feel a different way about Cleveland.
Definitely.
Still feel the same way about the Cowboys. Quick question. LA's win in Detroit. Did it the Lakers against the Pistons? Did it feel like a loss, or is a win a win?
No, I know exactly what you're saying. I was watching the game and I was like, how is this game this close? The Lakers had a third quarter that was like 45 points. If they didn't have that, they won. And it's funny that the news was saying they won by 4 or 5 points. They're like, oh, the Lakers crushed the Pistons. I was like, they won by, it was 110-106, and they had to come back. They had a 40-point third quarter. Do you know how bad that is?
Yeah, that's
mean you're playing terrible ball in the first 2 quarters. You pick it up for 1 quarter, and then you cruise to the victory at the end, and you almost still lose. Like, what? That's crushing, so let me know. Yeah, I think it's just the Lakers are in a bad place. They got a lot of pieces that they have to figure out how to use, and nobody's, they got to get shooters. That's all they got. Bigs. You got bigs, you need shooters. You don't need Westbrooks running down the court and transition. Like, it's not necessary. Get some bigs, play some D3, and then,
there it is.
That's it.
Yeah, I thought it felt like a loss. I mean, I actually put down the Lakers got out-rebounded 53-42. I mean, they've been getting out-rebounded all of these games. So even in a lot of these wins feel like a loss. The Pistons' record is 4-16, so it's a team where I maybe, and the fans and the players and the coaches feel like that they should have won by a significantly larger margin, but the Lakers have some stuff they have to work out. So it would have been worse with a loss, but it felt like a loss. I know I've been coaching for a long time. I know to some of the players that felt like a loss, except for Westbrook. He's like, I'll take that W.
I'll take them dubs.
Yeah. So that's the end of the quick question. Rob, before we go, wanted to talk about something that might be quick or something that might drag a little bit. Right now we're doing pretty good. I want to talk about the process of hiring African American coaches on the college football scene and the college basketball scene, particularly in sports where it's dominated by African Americans. I bring your attention to college football, and I bring your attention definitely to college basketball. The NBA, the NFL, we already believe that there should be more head coaching opportunities for some of these guys. There are untouchables. Like if you can get Larry Brown, right, to coach college for your school, get him. Patino, Iona, that's a godsend. That's a gift from God, okay? But what do you think they can do to give African Americans more head coaching opportunities in college sports?
And let me
the NFL, they do have the Rooney rule.
Yes, they do.
And in fact, the AFC North, I think all of them, for a year, like all of them were black coaches.
Let me say this. How many, and this is just going to NFL, but this can go to, many of the sports too, because it can go to basketball too. How many offensively minded African-American coaches are employed? You got Eric Bieniemy,
defensive coordinator, or is he offensive coordinator?
Offensive coordinator
okay.
in Kansas City. But past that, I mean, that's really where the head coaches come from. They come from the quarterback whisperer, or they know how to run an offense. They know how to put points up on the board. Because at the end of the day, your defense is, its own entity. But as a team, as a head coach, I believe you need to be an offensive-minded individual. And then when you look at that, a lot of the African-American coaches, they're going to come a little bit more on the defensive side of the ball, or a little bit more of the lineman aspect, or in a wide receiver aspect. But when you're talking about quarterbacks, it's not necessarily the connection there between the African American quarterback, the non-African American quarterbacks and the coaches. And I think that there's a disconnect there. I mean, it's even showing up, I feel like, with what they're doing in Baltimore. Like, they just don't know how to utilize Lamar as well as they could.
Right.
And they're doing a great job, because I feel like Lamar is an absolute megastar, but it's still like this, this tug back and forth about, are we going to let the reins off and just, maybe he has a seven interception game, but maybe he starts getting 7 and 8, touchdowns a game. I think there's this delicate balance where people don't know really what to do with this new style of quarterback play, this new style of game. And I think that's where things are going to start changing in the head coaching aspect. Is the GMs, the owners, are going to want to be able to connect to their players, and how better not to do that than to get somebody who understands the same flow and the same, Byron Leftwich. Finally, you're going to have certain people who are playing the game a certain way. I'd love to see a Donovan McNabb, get into a offensive coordinator type of understanding or position. But I think it just comes to you have to have a certain offensive capability as a head coach. And I don't believe that, a lot of black coaches have that opportunity, whether it's to, play the position themselves, to understand the workings of what's going on behind the quarterback, or just, having the respect for that side of the game, and
there's also a
defensive.
Sorry about it. There's also a generational good old boys gap happening, where like people, the sons of people, the friends of the sons of people are getting these jobs, and as long as they don't suck, they'll keep the job. And for people to break into that club, Of course, winning solves all. Byron Leftwich, right? I mean, if he's doing it and he's winning, guess what? Boom. Basketball has been a revolving door of good coaches. Even coaches with winning records who are getting fired. I remember that guy. That guy got coach of the year and got fired. Right. The year he got coach of the year. So we seep towards professional sports where whatever. And I think just for the people listening, like if I'm applying for like a college coaching job for volleyball or like a club coach and this and that, I think they're always going to go to the person they knew or they grew up with. So I live in the South Bay. So if I'm in an area where the relationships are incestuous, where that guy's going to get that club job, that guy's going to get that NCAA job because they know that person. I don't necessarily know if that's unfair. I just think people are going with something what they know. And you know what I'm saying? I mean, on a different level, that's kind of like a good old boys club. And good old boys club as a term gets a bad rap because of that. But and some of their defenses, they're going with someone that they know instead of taking a chance
from the job.
Taking a chance.
Yeah.
But I think, and in closing, I think if people start taking more chances, you're going to see more colors. You're going to see more colors in the game. And I didn't mean colored like black, but like colors in the game. You're going to see more creativeness. You're going to see new ideas. It's going to generate more fan support. We desperately want that for our sport, and I think that's definitely going to only help college sports and professional sports, and that are dominated by people who are not white. And
Totally.
that's all I wanted to say about that.
Totally.
Rob, is there anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Stay happy, stay healthy, y'all.
Stay happy, stay healthy. You know what? I'm not even mad at that. I'm gonna say the same thing. Where we at? I'm doing my own camera work today. I'm gonna say stay happy, stay healthy. For my man Rob, keep it McLean. I'm Jason DeBeas right here. Love you guys to pieces. Peace. Come check out the Option Podcast on OptionVB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're gonna love what you hear.